Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 5.
Endure and survive.
They said that was redundant, and I mean, sure, I get it. But also, though, it means two different things.
There are two different connotations to those words. It's fine.
Like, endure.
But as an adult man with no joy, I feel like that's what you would point out.
This was a fantastic episode. I was really hoping it was going to be, because I found last week's a little bit, not even boring,
but it did what I said.
I was like, I really hope this is establishing. Like,
this episode earned that episode, which is what I assumed was going to happen.
I really appreciated the ambiguity. And again, it kind of further earns last week, because we open up with Kansas City rebels overthrowing FEDRA. And
gruesomely.
This is not our first rodeo. It's not many people's first rodeo watching this show. We're a little bit programmed to think of rebels as heroes and any type of government. I mean, the word Fed is there as the villains. But being met with, as you mentioned, this gruesome opening.
Literally stringing them up, but like by a pulley system. So it's not like hanging them. It's like pulling them up by the neck.
Dragging bodies.
That are stuffed full of knives. Like, it just really
ripping
intense.
Clothes off.
Yeah.
And so
dragging them by the feet.
I was just sort of watching this like, who is the villain here?
Everybody!
Well, and then the character of Kathleen, and then the casting of Melanie Lynskey as Kathleen, because it's not what you would expect, like 3 layers deep. And Melanie Lynskey has a very calming, very, to reference internet controversy, female. She has a very female quality. And there's typically that type of energy is meant to be calming.
I can't even use the word smug. She's just very condescending.
Oh, yeah.
Very like,
Well, and that's
so
kind
sad.
I feel like silly singing the praises of Melanie Lynskey in the year 2023, but
it's like white noise to us at this point.
It was just a very interesting portrayal, because I was like, oh, she's awful, but I like her, and I did get it.
Yeah.
Like, I got her, even though it is sort of like, seriously? And I love that we had, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 scenes with her over these 2 episodes where she isn't like, she's not just an evil queen. Like, she's not just like, bring me the girl, you know what I mean?
And she also seems to be a semi-reluctant leader, because what I liked the most about this episode is that we found out that it has only been 11 days since
the overthrow.
Since they overthrew FEDRA, but it's also been 11 days maximum since her brother, or I guess maybe a little bit longer since her brother got turned in, because he was like our collaborator.
The overthrow, the revolution, I think, the rebellion was going on.
Regardless, it hasn't been that long, because I was like, how long ago? Like, is your dead brother in the room with it? Like, how long has he been dead? Because like, that's the kind of thing where I'm like, if it's been too long, it doesn't. It's like, when are you gonna?
But I love that scene with her and Perry, where she was like in her childhood bedroom, where she was sort of like, I know that I'm not likable.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, I know what I'm doing is not what my brother wanted. He said as much, and yet I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah.
And Perry's like, that's why you're our girl. And for better and worse, that's the question of leadership.
Yeah.
You know, it's something Game of Thrones touched on more so in its earlier seasons, where it's like, what is a king? What is his duty?
What does actual power mean?
And someone has to make decisions. And I do sort of like that she was very upfront about her decision. Because she said to Perry, is he your 7th priority?
Yeah, because he's not mine. I really loved their deference to her. Like, and there was no, like, vibes of mutiny. They were, like, all in with her and this mission and killing Henry, and I'm like, he is old enough to be taking care of his younger brother, but he is a kid still. Like, he's not equipped.
So the story is that Henry, and I am glad it's something that this episode did. It's something that the show's doing, and I really appreciate it, where the show is not doing anything revolutionary. It is hitting well-trodden territory. It's painting with broad strokes, but it's doing it very well.
Well, and I think part of that is they have chosen the exact correct actors for the, like, across the board. You can paint in broad strokes if you have someone like Melanie Lynskey.
Vibrant colors.
If Melanie Lynskey is there to paint your broad strokes, it's gonna work.
Lamar Johnson was fantastic.
Oh my
we
God.
only had him for one episode.
Yeah.
And I bought it. And what I was getting at is kind of what I thought is what happened. It was more thoughtful in the details with Sam having leukemia and Henry betraying. Did her brother have a name?
Michael, I think.
Michael. No, Brian was the guy that was shot.
Shot last week.
I'll call her brother. Henry betraying her brother to FEDRA because her brother was leading the revolution. And in which case, then you get like political dynastic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all very fascinating, but Henry betrayed her brother to FEDRA for medicine. And we did come to find out that FEDRA, and from Henry, who was a reliable source at this point, that FEDRA was monsters.
Specifically, Kansas City FEDRA was like raping, torturing, murdering.
And renowned. They were known for.
Across the country. Yeah.
And so there were layers. It was very deep.
Which though, that then goes back to the beginning to earn how they were treating FEDRA during the takeover, where it's like, you know what? Your own medicine doesn't feel good.
But also because she even, oh crap, I can't remember the point I'm literally trying to make right now. But didn't she say something about like my own actions, or I don't know?
I think in the like after show thing, Melanie Lynskey was like it almost, she ignored this huge problem.
But it was like she acknowledged that she was being just as bad as they were, but it at a certain I don't know. I love it. I want to shout out Lamar Johnson again. He was fantastic.
Was really good, yeah.
His relationship with Sam, who was
Kevon Woodward,
also fantastic.
Yeah. It was such a believable brother relationship, and I think adding the deafness to the story, which did not happen, it wasn't the case in the video game, was really smart. And it like ups the stakes a little, and it makes it so there's like more separation, but then when Sam manages the connection with Ellie, it then makes the ending that much more devastating, and it was so good.
I also need to give you a round of applause because you were 1000% correct that whatever was in the ground was the big one from the trailer. Because I was like, no. Well, anytime that I'm certain.
It wasn't in that same spot.
No, but they were. Yeah. They were bubbling under.
Yeah.
And so Henry and Sam help Ellie and Joel out of the city. They make it, and Kathleen and company follow them, find them, catch up with them.
Well, because they have like a sniper stationed in the residential area that's like trying to kill them as well.
They like catch up to them. Kathleen's like, "It's done now. Turn yourself in." I did find her monologue interesting, the children die monologue, and then the earth opens up and all of the infected come out. And there was so fast. And there was a moment, it was thrilling.
It was so thrilling.
Yeah. There was a moment where I was sort of like, all of this for nothing. Because they presumably lost Kansas City now. The infected are probably.
Well, it was like the way that they explained it is that like 20 roughly years prior, they had crammed everybody, all of the infected underground, and that's how Kansas City was like clean of there's no infected in the city at all, but it's because they push them all underground. What happens when you put fungus underground? That's why everything was undulating under that building. Like, it's just ugh.
But the thing that I love is I was kind of like, oh, this is terrible. All of this was for nothing. But in a butterfly effect way, it wasn't, because Joel and Ellie got out.
Yeah.
And there's still hope for this cure or antidote or medicine or whatever. And so I really like how it all seems futile, but then it kind of wasn't. I don't know. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, even though we saw it coming, we saw it coming a mile away, but I am sad to lose Henry and Sam. I like what it did. I like Ellie's attempt at trying to heal him, certainly giving him peace.
Some hope, yeah. That, like, so apparently he's 13 in the video game, so he's, like, roughly the same age as Ellie, but at 8 years old, having the, like, mental wherewithal to be like, when you're a monster, do you remember who you are?
Are you still you? Yeah.
Ugh. Asking the tough questions, little Sam. That was tough. That was super tough. And then you were like, that's not how it works. Cause she was just like, it's my blood. And it's like, she doesn't know science.
But also, are you not gonna try?
Of course. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That was, and then it's just like, I think the most emotional part was 90 seconds after Henry shoots Sam because he's infected. And then he realizes that everything he did was useless. Like, the betrayal that he committed against Kathleen and her brother, all of the getting the doctor killed, all of it was literally for nothing because his brother got bit anyway. And
again, had he been able to, if this were regular life, obviously you want to persevere, you want to endure and survive. He wasn't able to process that, though he lost his brother, he was able to potentially help. And it just, I don't know, it was tragic, but it felt authentic.
It did. And I also think, like, obviously this is like the point of the whole thing, but it's like every time that there is a situation like this, what's so fascinating to me is how it does bring Joel and Ellie closer, because now she's kind of shutting down because she didn't understand why what she tried didn't work, and she's very upset about that, and she really liked Sam.
Oh, she feels like she let him down.
And
she's definitely internalizing that.
And she really liked Sam, and she really liked Henry, and I think, and then having to bury them and everything, and like, Joel is really still giving her almost nothing to work with, and so she's like and he's gonna have to be the one to reach out.
The directorial decision to focus on her for Henry's suicide.
Oh my god, totally.
Was really great.
Joel has seen some shit. That's not gonna...
But for us to not see it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've seen our fair share of violence.
Yeah.
But the choice to focus on her, because she killed Brian in the previous episode.
Well, she paralyzed Brian.
She contributed to Brian's death in the previous episode, and she was handling that well enough. And then to have this be where she was not directly involved, but in a lot of ways feels indirectly responsible. I think to focus on her trauma in that moment was a really, really good flourish. And so they buried Henry and Sam, and
she wrote, "I'm sorry" on his little thing.
It's a big, big emotion for such a little girl.
I mean, all of it.
This was the most. I think she's been fantastic the
whole
entire time.
Yeah.
But there was a very, like, I mean, yeah, that's to be like.
Of course, she's Bella Ramsey. Of course, she's great.
Well, and even just the characterization of Ellie.
Yeah.
It was very like, that's what I expected from this character. And this was the episode where she was genuinely making me laugh, and like, I wasn't like, oh, now's the part where she tells the joke and it's funny. Like, I was like, oh, that was actually funny.
Actual funny, yeah.
And like, this is like, I really liked episode 3, but the bottle episode quality of it allowed me to think of it as like
a separate
and
thing.
Now here's something you'll really love, where it's like, with this was part of the story I'm watching, and this was the most I felt connected to what was happening on the screen.
I get that for sure. I think Kathleen getting taken out by a clicker, and a child one at that, was important for the story. I love the way Melanie Lynskey talked about her, where she was like, there's really, like, regardless of anything else, even if she had survived this, there's no way forward for her. Like, if Henry gets away, is she gonna stop? Like, how is she gonna be an effective leader without this, like, vengeance plot?
Well, because it goes to show you that, I mean, maybe there is not one person that can do everything. Like, she was she was the right person to lead the rebellion, but she's not the right person to rule.
Exactly. And I think that's great. I do want to pour one out for Perry. So hot and his head got ripped clean off.
He's just hot in 2 places now.
Woo! And I liked the part of this episode the most where I imagined that they had a quick fling before they both died.
Perry and Kathleen.
They deserve it. And then I think the only other thing I want to say is that this time we watched it on HBO Max as opposed to live, and so we watched the after the show thing, and the amount
aggressiveness of Melanie Lynskey's New Zealand accent was
empathy. No, I was gonna say the amount of effort that they put into having all like physically human people act as the clickers is like, I appreciate that.
Well, that scene was startling to say the least.
I didn't expect them to be so fast.
And we are in a time of fast zombies. I am here for fast zombies. We are in the world of fast zombies.
28 Days Later and Train to Busan are amazing.
I thought it was startling because it was zombies, and then watching the inside the episode, I was like, oh, it's startling because of how well crafted it was.
It's like people, and they sent them to like movement camp to like.
Well, the stunt, because when they were doing the cast, it was like the 5 like co-stars and then like the 70 stunts. Incredible. And for a second I was like, huh? I was like, oh yeah.
Really, really cool. And the guy who played the bloater, his name is Adam Basil. So.
He's also very hot.
He's like a big dude.
He's not a bloater.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really
he was
good.
the beast.
Oh my god, he is.
All right, I think that's good.
Really
next
good.
week we're going to
we are apparently just
snowy.
Making it to Wyoming.
Okay,
I think because like we saw Tommy, so we'll see. I'm excited that we're getting through it for story purposes. I'm pumped.
Well, which is helpful when you're essentially watching a video game
for sure. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, like and subscribe if you want to patronize us. You can head on over to Patreon at soimwatchingtheshow / or patreon.com/soimwatchingtheshow and watch along to some shows with us, like Drag Race. I'm sure the overlap of this. Actually, it's more than you would think. More than you would expect. But yeah, so
bye.